Hello everybody, this is Gwyneth Isaac speaking here. It's late, it's probably getting towards about 11 o'clock at night. I was just going through my phone, having a look at my latest YouTube video and how it was doing. It's doing pretty good. But one thing I noticed was a subscriber dropped off. I don't know who that subscriber was, But what I know was that the last YouTube video was about the Jews. The Jews! Oh my gosh. And I'm thinking that's probably why that particular subscriber left. I don't know why they left actually, but it wouldn't surprise me if they left because of the of me standing up for the Jews. Oh my gosh. You know something, I really don't care. I said I would tell the story of my husband being a Holocaust survivor. I think I'll tell that story now, although it's late, and I'll upload this tomorrow. Yeah, my husband was about 3 or 4 years old. It was 1939. His mother had just broken up with his father and moved them to Glasgow just in time for World War II to break out. He's quite a bit older. He was quite a bit older than I was. He was born in 1935. So I was born in 1974. So there's a bit of an age gap, but we were very happy together. We were meant to be. But what happened when he was a little boy, he would have been about 4 years old at this time when this happened, so maybe 3. His mother had a visitor one day knock on the door, and it was the wardens in World War II. They had wardens, and these were people who were basically in charge of enforcing the martial law. And his mother was, because during World War II, the whole of Britain was under martial law, basically, and the wardens were wardens. The guys in the white helmets were the guys who were responsible for enforcing this martial law. And I'm sure the Germans had something similar as well, and all the other countries that were part of the war, part of that war. Anyway, she got the order to evacuate. And I don't know what happened, but she got a really bad feeling. And she was given half an hour to pack. This was in Glasgow. She was given half an hour to pack. And it would have probably been about 1940, maybe 1941. So he may have been 4 or 5 years old, because she had her second child by that time. That was Alexis, and Archie's little sister Alexis. What happened was she was carrying the wee baby in her arms, and Archie was a little boy, maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, walking next to her. And what happened was she got this really, really bad feeling. They were being marched away, and she was told they were being marched to a evacuation camp. And she looked at all the people, and she just got this really, really, really bad feeling. And she leant over and she said to Archie, Archie, whatever you do, promise me you won't scream, no matter what I do to you. And he said, what are you going to do, Ma? She said, what? Just don't worry about that. Just whatever I do to you, promise me you will not scream. What are you going to do, Ma? Just promise me. Promise me, boy. Promise me that you won't scream. Okay, Ma, I promise I won't scream. What are you going to do to me? What are you going to do, Ma? And she just walked for a little while. And then she went. She pretended to stumble. And then she sort of pushed him off to one side, through the hedge that was next to the road, into the ditch. He rolled down the ditch and he laid at the bottom of the ditch and didn't scream. And about 100 metres past this point, she pretended to trip and stumble again, jumped through the hedge herself, rolled down into the ditch with the baby in her arms. Quite a deep ditch, apparently. You know, these roadside ditches outside of Glasgow, they're quite deep. And the baby was in her arms, and she turned around to the board of it. So Archie just lay there, just motionless, staring at his mother. His mother staring back. The column of people just went on and on and on and on and on they marched. Finally, nighttime came and the people went away. They climbed out of the ditch, went back onto the road and walked back to Glasgow. Many years later, the stories came out of people who were marched to camps in Europe and vanished, disappeared, death camp marches. And there were a lot of members of the National Socialist Workers' Party secretly in high positions of power in Scotland at that time, especially members of the nobility, especially members of the royal family, you know. And I've never heard any historical account of this evacuation march. Archie had never heard of any historical account of this evacuation march. All that he knew was what happened to him. And I can't help but think if this was actually a march to, I mean, what happened to all those hundreds of other people that they were getting marched along with? What happened to them? You know? What happened to them? Who were they? What I do know is that prior to World War II, there were thousands of Jews living in Glasgow, but by, dozens of synagogues in Glasgow. But by the time about 1955 or 1960 rolled around, there were very few. Very, very few. And, what happened to them? If you ask historians what happened to Glasgow's Jews, they'll say, a lot of them after the war emigrated to Israel. Well, maybe that's the case. But, who were those people that were getting marched to literally God only knows where? Who were they? Where were they going? Were they just marched out to some isolated valley and, Is that what happened to them? What happened to them? Where are they? Where were they? Where did they, who were they? I don't even know who they were. Were they the people who had Jewish surnames like Archie McIsaac? Were they in his, he was called variously Archibald Thompson, Archibald Robertson. That was his mother's name. It was Robertson. So sometimes she used the name Robertson, sometimes she used the name Thompson. She didn't use the name McIsaac at all. Although that's the name that was on his birth certificate. And like I said, he found out who his real father was when he was 46 years old. These people who say that the Holocaust never happened, that's one story. One story where, I would say that his mother's instincts were correct, because those people vanished. They vanished out of the pages of history. There's just no record of them. I haven't heard any other. If anyone in the comments section has heard any account of an evacuation march out of Glasgow, I'd love to hear it. I haven't heard it. I haven't heard anything like that ever. But that was a memory that my husband had, and he used to tell that story on quite a regular basis of how, and he used to say, gee. Now, my mother obviously knew the name that was on my birth certificate, and she was clever enough to realise, she must have heard what was going on in Europe with the Jews of Europe, and must have realised that a lot of the Scottish authorities couldn't be trusted, that they were traitors to their own people. And so often in Scottish history, it's been the Scottish nobles that have betrayed their own people, their own clansmen. That if you want to unsubscribe because you think that the Holocaust is contrived and a made up story or whatever, I really don't care. If you want to unsubscribe because you think I am a Zionist, I believe that the Jews need a safe place to be in this world, and that is the nation of Israel. You go to Israel and you stand on a Quran on the streets of Israel. The Israelis have so much respect for the Muslims, they will arrest you for standing on top of a Quran or a Bible or a Torah scroll. Any of them. They'll arrest you for standing on any of these books. And I have a friend, I call him a friend, apostate prophet. We've never met, but I support his work. He was going to do that. He regularly rips up Qurans and eats them, because Muslims do things like threaten his life and, tell them that, and every time they do that, he rips a page out of the Quran and eats it. That's what he does. But he had his Jewish friend over there say to him, "No, don't do that. Don't do that. They'll arrest you." And he said, "Who'll arrest me? The jihadi imams?" They said, "No, the Israeli police. The Jews will arrest you for standing on a Torah scroll or a Quran or a Bible in Jerusalem. They will arrest you for doing that. So you have been lied to about Israel by the likes of Tucker Carlson." And I was a very great supporter of Alex Jones for many years. But even Alex Jones, I'm very disappointed in him because he's turned against Israel. I'm very disappointed in my own Australian government because they've turned against Israel. All these things were prophesied in the Bible. It's all happening just as it was prophesied that it would.